in the heart of the forgotten kingdom of Eldoria. Nestled between jagged peaks and desolate moors lay a forest whispered about in hushed tones. The Whisperwood, it wasn't always a place of dread. Centuries ago, it was the verdant maze, a place of unparalleled beauty, cared for by a powerful nature spirit. But a greedy nobleman, Lord Valerius, sought to harness its power for himself. He tried to capture the spirit, and in its final desperate act, it laid a curse upon the land, twisting the forest into a labyrinth of shadows and nightmares. Lord Valerius and his men were consumed, their souls forever bound to the decaying woods. Now, the Whisperwood was a place where compasses spun wildly, paths shifted like living serpents, and the air hummed with a malevolent energy. Those who dared enter were rarely seen again, their sanity or their lives claimed by the forest's eternal twilight. Yet, desperation often breeds courage. In the nearby village of Oakhaven, a young woman named Ilara lived with her little brother Finn. Finn was afflicted by the weeping plague, a strange illness that slowly turned the skin grey and brittle, like old stone. The local healers were powerless, their remedies failing one by one. Ilara's hope was dwindling until an old, weathered traveller passed through, his eyes holding the wisdom of 1,000 journeys. He spoke of a single, mythical bloom hidden deep within the Whisperwood, the moon petal flower said to cure any ailment. It bloomed only once a century under the light of a specific lunar eclipse, and that eclipse was just 3 nights away. Driven by love for her brother, Ilara decided to brave the cursed forest. She packed a simple bag, a water skin, some dried rations, a tinderbox, and her father's old hunting knife. As she prepared to leave under the cloak of pre-dawn mist, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was Alastair Finch, a disgraced cartographer and self-proclaimed monster hunter. He was a man haunted by his past, ostracized after a failed expedition into the Whisperwood years ago, an expedition from which he returned alone, babbling about phantoms and a forest that thinks. He saw Ilara's resolve and offered his help, not for coin, but for a chance at redemption. He still possessed the only known map of the forest, incomplete and unreliable as it was. Wary, but knowing she couldn't succeed alone, Ilara agreed. They entered the Whisperwood as the sun climbed the sky, but its light was immediately swallowed by the dense, interlocking canopy. The air grew cold, and an unnatural silence pressed in on them. The trees themselves seemed to watch, their bark like gnarled faces, their branches like skeletal fingers. Alastair's old map was of little use. The landmarks he had charted were gone, replaced by new, menacing formations of rock and thorn. Their first night was a trial by fire. As they huddled by a small, sputtering flame, the forest came alive. Glimmering will-o'-the-wisps danced in the distance, luring them toward treacherous bogs. Strange, chittering sounds echoed from the undergrowth. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and shadowy creatures emerged from the soil. They were the gnarled ones, twisted amalgamations of root and bone with glowing red eyes. They were the tormented spirits of Valerius's men, now guardians of the curse. Alistair, his past fears resurfacing, fought with a desperate ferocity, his silver-etched axe cleaving through the woody limbs. Alara, though terrified, used her quick thinking, setting patches of dry leaves ablaze to create barriers of fire, holding the creatures at bay until the first hint of dawn sent them retreating back into the earth. The next day, they stumbled upon the ruins of Lord Valerius's old hunting lodge, now choked with vines and sinking into the swampy ground. Inside, they found a decaying journal. Alistair, his hands trembling, read the nobleman's frantic scrawls. Valerius wrote of his obsession with the forest spirit, his regret, and the final moments as the curse took hold. He described a heart of the forest, a place where the spirit's power was most concentrated and where the moon petal was said to bloom. The journal spoke of a guardian, a creature born of the spirit's rage and sorrow, protecting the flower. A crude drawing showed a monstrous beast, part stag, part shadow, with antlers that branched like dead trees. Following the vague directions from the journal, they ventured deeper. The forest's illusions intensified. Alara saw visions of Finn, healthy and laughing, calling to her from paths that led to sheer cliffs. Alistair was tormented by the ghostly voices of his lost companions, blaming him for their fate. They had to rely on each other, pulling one another back from the brink of madness. Their shared goal, a single point of light in the overwhelming darkness. On the third day, they found it. A clearing where the oppressive canopy opened to the sky. In the center stood a colossal ancient oak, its bark glowing with a soft, ethereal light. This was the heartwood, and at its base, nestled amongst its roots, was a single closed bud, radiating a gentle silver luminescence, the moon petal, but it was not unguarded. From the shadows of the great oak, the guardian emerged. It was larger and more terrifying than the drawing depicted. The shadow stag, its form flickering between solid and smoke, its eyes burning with cold ancient fury, its antlers crackled with dark energy. It was the physical manifestation of the forest's pain. It let out a roar that was not a sound, but a feeling, a wave of pure despair that threatened to extinguish their hope. Alistair knew a direct fight was suicide. The eclipse, he yelled. The journal said its power wanes during the peak of the eclipse. We have to hold it off. As the moon began to slide across the sun, casting the world into an eerie twilight, the battle began. The shadow stag charged, its hooves not touching the ground, but gliding over it. Alistair met it head-on, his axe sparking against its shadowy hide. He was a bulwark, a shield of courage against a tide of sorrow. Alara, meanwhile, used her wits. She saw that the creature recoiled from the light of the heartwood oak. Using the reflective surface of her knife, she angled the tree's soft glow into the stag's eyes, disorienting it, buying Alistair precious seconds. The eclipse reached its totality. The world was plunged into darkness. Save for the sun's fiery corona and the silver glow of the moon petal, which was now beginning to unfurl. The shadow stag faltered, its form becoming less solid, more transparent. This was their chance. But instead of attacking, Elara looked at the beast and saw not a monster, but a prisoner. She remembered the journal, The Spirit's Sorrow. She took a step forward, her heart pounding. "We don't want to harm you," she said, her voice clear and steady. "We only seek to heal. The forest has suffered, and so have you, but let this one act of kindness be a new beginning." The shadow stag paused, its burning eyes fixed on her. In that moment, as the moon petal opened fully, releasing a wave of pure, gentle energy, a flicker of something other than rage appeared in its gazer, profound sadness. The wave of light washed over the creature, and with a final mournful cry that sounded like the cracking of ancient ice, it dissolved into 1,000 motes of light, which were then absorbed into the heartwood tree. As the light of the returning sun pierced the clearing, the oppressive atmosphere of the forest lifted. A warm breeze rustled the leaves, which now seemed a vibrant green instead of a sickly grey. The curse was not broken, but it was lessened, soothed by an act of compassion. Elara carefully plucked the fully bloomed moon petal. Its light pulsed softly in her hand. Her journey with Alistair back to Oakhaven was different. The forest seemed to guide them, its paths clear and safe. She returned to find Finn weaker than ever. With trembling hands, she crushed the flower's petals into a cup of water, creating a luminous potion. She helped him drink it. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a soft light enveloped him. The grey, brittle texture of his skin receded, replaced by the healthy warmth of life. His eyes fluttered open, clear and bright. He was healed. Alistair did not stay in Oakhaven. His redemption was a personal journey, and his path now lay in charting the changed, healing Whisperwood, hoping to one day see it restored to its former glory. Elara, forever grateful, became a respected healer in her own right. Her story a testament to the fact that sometimes the greatest courage is not in fighting monsters, but in understanding their pain. The Whisperwood remained a place of legend, but now it was a legend of hope.